All right, what's up, y'all? So today I wanted to talk about near-death experiences and how they relate to religion slash the existence of God, because it's an argument that I hear a lot whenever I will talk to someone about the evidence that we have currently for why God exists. But the first point I want to make about near-death experiences is that there's no reason why we should attribute any more meaning or reality to them as compared to dreams. Like, both of them are the brain doing its thing while we're unconscious and we're not in the position of making decisions for ourselves. So, why should we attribute truth to things that are happening in a near death experience rather than in a dream? Because maybe I had a dream about Santa Claus, but that doesn't mean that Santa Claus is real, right? But if I have a near death experience where I see God, then that means that God is real. And also, in these near death experiences, what if these people in these near death experiences are also seeing other things in the near death experience? Do we ask them about the other things that they're seeing? Because maybe they see God, but are they also seeing fire breathing dragons and wizards and witches? And if they do see those other things, are we going to attribute reality to those witches and wizards and dragons as well, to say that those things are real because they saw them in a near death experience? And why would a near death experience be conveying truth? Like, what leads us to believe that the near death experience would be conveying truth? Like, untold truth that we've yet to know, if it's been in our brains all along? And why wouldn't that truth have come up in dreams? And why don't we attribute that same possibility of truth to dreams? You know, no one has a dream of dragons or Santa Claus and wakes up and says, well, I saw these things, and then people go and attribute that as reality. That doesn't happen. And for people who do that, then I would question their critical thinking abilities. Um, but yeah, I don't know why people would think that the brain, especially in that instance, is going to be a reliable source for truth, because it, the brain, well, lies to us all the time. I mean, we can't even rely on our own eyes to pass a series of illusions where you have, you know, those two like bands next to each other where it looks like one band is longer when in reality they're the same size. But our eyes can't even get past that illusion, And if you take the color gray here and the color gray here, and you have this gray square and you cover it in yellow stripes and cover this one in blue stripes, then it appears that the two gray squares are different colors when in reality they're not. So our brain is so easily deceived. And especially when you're in the vulnerable state of being at the end of your life, why are we going to take that person's experience as a better source of truth than a different experience? I mean, oftentimes when people are towards the end of their lives or in an experience that is threatening their life, they're not in the best frame of mind. I mean, you could look at like dementia patients, for example. Like, you really would it be intellectually honest of you to take a dementia patient's near death experience or the things that they feel at the end of their life? Would it be very prudent to take those things as truth when for the past 10 years of their life they've slowly forgotten who they were, they've forgotten their family, they've forgotten who they are and what their name is, they've forgotten how to walk, how to even feed themselves, but because they have a dream where they see the God they believe in, oh, now that is true? I mean, even if it's not in the case of a dementia patient and it's just someone that got in a car accident or they got a sudden disease or something, why should we be taking that as truth? Like, do we have any evidence of near-death experiences also proving truths that up to that point had not been proven true? Like, are people finding the cures to cancer in these near-death experiences? Because that would be what I would expect, because up until now we've yet to find a cure for cancer, and up to now we've yet to prove the existence of a God. So you're telling me these people in these near-death experiences, they're finally proving what scientists have yet to prove for thousands of years. But yet they haven't come away with some other supernatural revelation like the cure to cancer or something like that, just all on their own, without ever having really done that much research into the topic. Yeah, it's a very flawed idea when you actually start to dig into it more, as a lot of ideas within Christianity and other religions are. And what about the fact that whenever you have someone that has a near-death experience, they claim they see God, right? But did that God specifically say which God he was? Because you can't really just say that you saw God. You got to say which one. So when these people are having the near-death experience, are they seeing a God and then he's saying, well, I'm Jesus of Nazareth and I was prophesied in the Old Testament Bible. I've come to fulfill the law and I've come to free the Jews. Does he say like something to specifically distinguish himself from other gods? Because if you're a Christian, you might think then that if a Muslim has a near-death experience, what he's seeing is actually Jesus Christ, But how does the Muslim know that unless the God announces that to him? And in the same way, how do you know if you're a Christian that you're not just saying Allah, the God of Islam? And what about these near-death experiences that are used as evidence by other religions that their religion is true, right? Because it's more so just confirmation bias. Like, yeah, in Christianity and in Christian cultures, you'll be able to find instances of near-death experiences where that person sees Jesus Christ or their God. But what about the near-death experiences where Muslims see Allah, or where people in other religions see their God? Well, shouldn't we then believe that those near-death experiences are evidences of truth as well? But all these gods can't be true at the same time, right? So that's why we should be looking at this in the same way that we look at dreams. We need to realize how tainted people are by their own beliefs, and how just because people believe something or because they have an anecdotal experience, that doesn't mean that it's true. People say that they see ghosts all the time, or they saw an alien, but that has never come to fruition to prove that ghosts or aliens are real. And coincidentally, it always seems to happen in cases where there's, no video cameras around, or very low quality video cameras, or in instances where it can't be replicated at all, or there's not a lot of corroborating evidence. That seems to always be where the aliens land, where the people are getting anal probed by aliens. It's always in these remote areas with no video cameras. Isn't that kind of a convenient coincidence? But yeah, I don't see any reason for why I should take someone else's near-death experience as evidence that their specific God is the one true God and that all the doctrine touted by them is actually true.